Thanks for listening to Gossip with Celebrity, brought to you by Celebrity.com. This week we talk about the Royals. We end with our weekly feature, The Comments of the Week. The stories, photos, and tweets we talk about can be found at Celebrity.com/podcast under episode 168. Hi, I'm Katie, the founder and editor of Celebrity.com, and I write as Celebrity.
And I'm Chandra, I'm the head writer for Celebrity, and I write as Kaiser.
So we were off for 3 weeks. Like initially we were thinking of taking 1 week off, but it's been a lot with the award season and everything happening. And I cut my finger pretty bad and needed stitches. Like it wasn't an emergency. I just went to the urgent care. But I followed this stupid hack I saw on YouTube where you put candles in the freezer to freeze the wax and get the candles out from the glass container. Well, you can imagine how I cut my finger. The wax does freeze really well and you can pull it out, but it was bigger than the opening to the candle. So,
and you had a tetanus shot.
I had to get a tetanus shot after that. The tetanus shot wiped me out.
I've never had one, but I've heard that they're horrible. Like the needle is really big and it hurts.
It didn't hurt that bad. Like it was just like any other shot. My arm was sore for a little bit longer and I felt tired for like a week. So, but get a tetanus shot. I'm not saying don't get a tetanus shot.
Like right after that happened to you, I was like, oh, I need to be really careful. That kind of shit could happen to me too. I'm always bumping into things and, like just getting
Same.
like random small injuries.
Yeah, me too.
And like right after that happened to you, I cut my thumb. I didn't need stitches, but it was bleeding all over the place.
Oh no, you had a sympathy injury.
I guess. I was pushing down my trash and I think I cut my thumb on like a can from the cat food.
Oh yeah. That's rough. I'm sorry that happened. Ugh. And then stuff can get infected. Like I got burned anyway, I won't go off about my injuries. But yeah, you have to be careful. You never know what could happen. But I'm fine now. Like the stitches are out and everything. And I watched a bunch of the nominated movies over the break. You were talking about Anatomy of a Fall, so I definitely watched that one, and I liked it. Like, at first it was kind of slow, but once I got into it, I was like, damn. Once they started showing the court scenes, it was a really good courtroom drama.
It was a good courtroom drama. I was into it before then. I mean, obviously.
Yeah, my mom watched it, and she talked about it with me. That was sweet. Sorry.
I would love to talk to your mom about it, because I bet she and I would have a lot of the same opinions, because we usually do.
You guys love those crime shows. That's why it took me longer to get into it.
Yeah, the French court is like very, anyone can talk at any time. It goes on vibes. I don't know.
I felt that they were dressed like Santa. Like like they wear these robes that have like a hanging like Santa hat on them, and the guy in the red robe, I was like, wow, it must be Christmas time because he's wearing a Santa outfit. I really thought that for a few minutes.
Okay, isn't the prosecutor a son of a bitch? Oh, I wanted him to. I was like, ooh, when I get a hold of you.
He did a good job making you hate him. I like that.
Or her lawyer was really hot. Everyone's like making fan cams of him.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was a great movie. I know why it got nominated. And she's a good actress.
Yeah, she's wonderful.
I watched May, December. It felt like a Lifetime movie in a way, but that was probably by design. And I thought Julianne Moore and Charles Melton were good. And that's the only people I'm saying I thought were good.
I actually thought Natalie was fun. I thought all of the actors were doing a great job. Like Natalie was supposed to be unlikable. She was supposed to be, I don't know, just kind of an asshole actress.
I've never seen her play a likable character.
Yeah, she's good at playing unlikable because I think that's who she is.
Yeah.
She had my favorite line of the movie, which was, that's just what grown-ups do. Or, that's something that grown-ups do. I loved that line.
The evil.
Saying that to him.
You could tell a man wrote it, though, when she was talking to the kids and she gave that line about how sometimes she gets turned on during sex scenes or whatever, and she played it up. I was like, bleh.
Well, you're supposed to think that. Like, she's supposed to be a really bad actress.
Yeah, it was nasty. And but I saw Nyad. I really like Nyad. Like, you would be surprised how good that movie is. It grew on me. And I started watching it thinking, I'm just going to watch, like, 15, 20 minutes of it. And I watched the whole thing, and it was very entertaining and good and inspiring. Like, it made you want to go work out, for real.
Yeah, everyone says it was really good. I'm going to watch it eventually.
You would like it.
Yeah, I just haven't yet.
It's pretty cool. That lady was badass, you know, like, did you see anything else good, or?
I'm waiting to see Poor Things. I'm waiting for it to come out on rental.
I know.
I really want to see that, and that's like the only big like contender that I have left.
American Fiction. I want to see.
Oh yeah, American Fiction
yeah,
too.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I've heard so much good things about that movie. All right, let's talk about the royals.
Oh god, there's so much.
So much happened. So while we were off, Kate was hospitalized for abdominal surgery, and we heard that the surgery was successful and that she would need like months before she could do duties again. And so the initial statement was that she was going to be in the hospital for 10 to 14 days, and then she is unlikely to return to public duties until after Easter.
And at no point in any of the statements, they've just made 2 statements, at no point did they say she's expected to make a full recovery.
That's scary. They left a lot unsaid and a lot of room for speculation.
Yeah.
They did. The statements that they gave. And then right after the news broke about her surgery, we heard that Charles was scheduled for treatment the following week for an enlarged prostate. And, you know, it seems pretty standard for older men, but it also seemed like, okay, why did he put this statement out right now?
Yeah, I believe the explanation for that. Maybe I'm naive, but apparently he released the information when he did because he already had a week full of, like, a full schedule, and he had to cancel a bunch of shit, and he didn't want people to have to fly to get to his events.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
But there's no real reason for Kate to have announced, or, you know, for Kensington Palace to announce that for Kate, especially since no one really understands the timeline of it, because she hadn't been seen, and she still hasn't been seen since Christmas Day.
What's going on with her is unclear. But then we got all these stories like William's going to focus on his family. He's visiting Kate. He's taking care of the kids. She was at a London clinic recovering from her surgery, and we saw William in a car headed there like once.
Yeah, and we didn't see any of the Middletons, and William didn't bring the kids to visit either. And we didn't hear about it either. Like, Kensington Palace didn't say, oh, and by the way, the kids visited. They just said Kate was FaceTiming with the kids.
They said it wasn't that serious, so the kids didn't need to visit or something like that?
Yeah, that was after Kate allegedly returned home. Ingrid Seward, she said it wasn't that serious. It's not like the kids needed to visit.
Oh, okay. And then, in contrast, Charles was getting treated at the same hospital for his enlarged prostate. And Camilla was grinning up a storm and going in and out of there a few times.
Yeah, she was there twice a day for 3 days straight. And then she came and picked him up on a Monday, and they walked out together. And, like, it was clear that the paparazzi were allowed to shoot, you know, all of the entrances and exits of the London clinic. And it seems very abundantly clear that if William had been going in and out of the hospital visiting Kate, we would have had photos.
And also, it's clear that Camilla wanted to stick it to William.
Yeah, exactly.
And we didn't hear anything about Charles or Camilla visiting Kate at the same hospital.
No, we did hear that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, when Charles checked into the hospital that Friday, he apparently did go and see Kate. But we didn't hear anything about William going to see Kate or his father at the same hospital. That's what we didn't hear.
It's very curious. And while Charles was hospitalized, Camilla did some events, and she looked real happy to be doing the events. And we heard these stories like she's the power behind the throne, she's the last royal standing, blah, blah, blah. It just rubbed some people the wrong way.
Yeah, she looked giddy. And
yeah,
she looked like all of her dreams had come true all of a sudden. And it was real. In retrospect, it looked even worse.
Yeah. Yeah. So Camilla picked up Charles later on Monday, and they walked out together. And William supposedly picked up Kate from the hospital a little bit earlier than that, 11 a.m. on that Monday, January 29th. And like we said earlier, we didn't get any photos of that. And then she's recovering at home, and we got all these stories like William's caring for her, he's watching the kids,
he's doing the bloody school run. Like, that was like the big reason why he can't do anything, is that he has to do the school run.
It's really, yeah,
it's just odd. So all right, that was the story, that Charles and Kate both left the hospital on January 29th. That was a Monday. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Camilla is out day after day doing events and like looking giddy. And then 1 week after Charles leaves the hospital comes the announcement about he has cancer. And they say, well, he's known, since early the previous week. So Camilla was stepping out, looking giddy, smiling like a Cheshire cat the whole time that she knew that Charles had cancer. Like, that's cold as ice.
It is cold. I mean, hopefully she's doing it because it's stage 1 or 2 and it's very treatable, because that's the official word. But you don't really trust the palace to tell the truth about it.
No, and like, even if you're saying like, oh, she was just being really upbeat and she was trying to show the British public that like there's nothing to worry about, like, then why all the stories about how she's the last royal standing and like she's the only one keeping the ceilings up?
It's like she's counting the days, yeah.
It's really cold.
Yeah. Especially, so, yeah.
Yeah. And, all right, so you want to talk about the coma stuff?
So, we don't know what happened to Kate, and everyone is kind of speculating, maybe she got a hysterectomy. I know a couple women who've had hysterectomies and have had serious complications from them. My OBGYN recommended one to me, and I was like, nope, because, that's not an easy procedure. So the Spanish sources that you reported on, the journalist Concha Calleja, I'm sorry if I'm butchering her name, said that she heard from a source that Kate had been in a medically induced coma after her surgery. Hopefully she's out of that and she's recovering at home. It's really hard to tell. So after that, the royals denied that story, and they said that Kate had not been in a coma, but they did it through sources. They did not do it through an official statement. And then the journalist in a follow-up interview said she stands by her sources, basically.
Yeah, and let's also note that Concha Calleja, she came out and said that the Sunday before Kate was allegedly released from the hospital, they waited 5 days before quote-unquote sources denied the story. And then they haven't said anything about the reporter sticking to her story and saying, nope, my sources were correct. Yeah, the whole thing is sketchy.
Hopefully it was just a brief thing, and whatever was grave with her, she's turned a corner because she supposedly is home now, although we don't know what kind of care or medical equipment or anything she has at home. I mean, you could make the argument that it's not our business, okay? But at the same time, they could give us more information. She's the wife of the heir.
Yeah, I mean, you could make the argument that as the future queen, there is a responsibility to make further disclosures. You could make an argument from a communication standpoint that it's grossly irresponsible for them to not be more specific and to allow all of this crazy speculation to just sit out there.
I wonder what they're thinking.
Some of it has the feel of Buckingham Palace giving Kensington Palace enough rope to hang themselves.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, yeah.
Yeah, just let them fuck up utterly, and like, we'll come later on and clean it up. Like, just show William exactly how bad he is at this.
And you get the sense that Camilla is the puppet master.
It definitely has felt at various points in the past month that Camilla is running the show and that she's, I don't know, flawlessly executing a really big coup and a big plot.
I mean, this is really similar to what Harry said in Spare.
Yeah, it is.
So around the time that the king was getting his prostate procedure, that we were starting to get this, chorus from the Rota, like, where's Harry? Why isn't Harry visiting? We need him. And right after we heard that Charles had cancer, we should mention that we don't know what kind of cancer it is. We don't know what stage he is.
They said,
but just that it's not prostate.
Yeah, they said it's not prostate. cancer, and they said they caught it very early. I sort of believe both of those things.
Yeah. And then, so right after we heard about that, we heard that Harry was going to come to England. So Harry arrived in London on Tuesday. He went straight to Clarence's house with a police escort. Mm-hmm. But he only met with Charles for 45 minutes tops. Like, oh my God.
Yeah. A 14-hour flight goes straight to Clarence's house. His father couldn't even clear an hour for him. Now, I also believe the reporting that Harry and Charles met alone. And I think that's why there's so much drama after. Because Camilla doesn't know what father and son said to each other. William doesn't know what Harry and Charles said to each other. Staff don't know. Like, I think that's why there's all of this, like, rage and melodrama.
It's outrageous. It's really outrageous.
It is. All of it is outrageous. Charles is such a dogshit father. Oh, God, he's horrible.
So Harry didn't even stay in a royal property. He stayed in a hotel Tuesday night.
Yeah. And it doesn't look like Charles invited him to, like, come to Sandringham and say, like, you know, we could spend a little bit more time together.
The resources these people have, like, they have so many, they have helicopters, they have staff, they have everything at their beck and call. It's not like they can't accommodate one extra person.
Exactly. Yeah. And Charles's whole thing is like, how could we ever find room for Harry in a 1,000-room castle? You know, it's absurd.
And it's Harry. They stuck him in the, you know, little side apartment or whatever. What was that story about the dust coming in his windows?
Oh, that was when he was like in a basement apartment in Kensington Palace, and like the people living above him would always like throw their carpet or sheets or something and block like the one window. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And like that's the fucked up dichotomy of they've always treated Harry that way, and now they talk about him like the entire operation hinges on Harry. Like, it's all gonna fall apart without him. And they treated him like garbage. They neglected him his entire life.
Yeah, they did. Since he was little. And there's been this call for Harry to come back, and maybe Meghan should come too. And yeah, they're just saying that because they want some kind of storyline. And they want him to abuse again.
Yeah, and the whole 24 hours in between, like, Charles's cancer announcement and Harry actually touching down in London, like, that was insane. They were doing, like, live blogs. Like, every royal commentator was, like, doing all these columns about what it all means. And, oh, Harry couldn't meet William and they could, you know, talk and blah. And, like, oh, my God. All that was said was that a son is going to visit his father who just found out that he has cancer.
Yeah.
I think that all of the William part of that story for Harry's visit, I think all of that was coming from Kensington Palace. That was William intruding on Harry and Charles's visit and saying, I have to be part of this story too.
So we had multiple stories about how William doesn't trust Harry and how William refused to meet with Harry. And it's like, nobody asked you, dude. You know?
I think it was William who leaked the stuff about Harry would have met with William if William had let him, you know, like Harry really wanted that meeting. I don't think Harry gives a shit anymore.
No, Harry knows who his brother is. And so William did a little bit of work on Wednesday. He went to 2 events. He stood in for Charles at an investiture service. And in the video you posted of that, he is swaying back and forth. He was not sober. It was day. He looked like he'd been drinking.
Yeah, and the blinking, that was weird as well. I think he either wears contacts all the time, or maybe he just goes without contacts and wears his glasses privately. But like the blinking, if it was just the blinking, you could say, okay, it's just like a contact thing.
Yeah.
He needed his glasses. But like the swaying along with the blinking, he looked like he was under the influence of something really heavy.
He was sauced. On Wednesday night, William went to an air ambulance charity event, and he was seen socializing with Tom Cruise. And when he was walking in, somebody asked him a question. I really couldn't hear what they said, but he answered, "We really appreciate everyone's kind messages." That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Your Highness, how grateful I am for the support you've received in recent weeks. We really appreciate everyone's kindness. Thank you.
That was
the big statement that he and Kensington Palace arranged with the press.
And after that, we heard we're not going to see him for a while.
Yeah. It turns out that his big return to work, his big schedule was just 2 events, one of which he was probably drunk for. And that's it. That's going to be it until March, maybe April.
That's a month. And his dad is the king, and he's out of commission getting treatment. If he wants to be king, after that, it's his son, and his son is underage. He has to step up at this point. But he clearly does not want this job.
Yeah, I mean, well, there are 2 things happening simultaneously. So William is not up to the job, and he doesn't want it. And he's lazy, and he's incredibly stupid.
That's not too, but go ahead.
Like, that's all happening on one side. And on the other side, Charles is clinging to whatever power he has and, like, refusing to let William have anything. Like, Charles does not want William to take over his, like, royal events or, like, participate in any of, like, the diplomatic aspects of the job of being king. Charles doesn't want William anywhere near any of that because William is lazy and stupid.
William's shown who he is. He's not good at this job. He's not gonna get good at this job.
And, okay, so we didn't even get into this, but so there was that Robert Hardman book, and, like, all of the big headlines were about, the Queen hated the name Lilibet, and blah, blah, blah. It was all this stupid shit about Harry and Meghan. But, like, the Hardman book was really bad for William. There are all of these really terrible stories about how he hates going to church, and, like, he's not smart, he hates to read, and he hates the arts, and, like, it was just like, holy shit, William is a terrible person. Like, in addition to that, he's really boring, he's not a man of faith, he's barely literate, like all
maybe his people didn't give Hardman any quotes or information, and Hardman was like, okay, we'll see how that works out for you.
No, I think all of it was just coming from Buckingham Palace. I think it was just Charles's people, because Charles authorized a lot of people to talk to Hardman.
Charles's mom was ruling up until she passed in her 90s. And Charles, he'll rule up until he passes, whenever that is. He's not going to give it to William. And whenever William becomes king, it's not going to be a good thing.
Well, I mean, Charles was power mad, and he was basically acting regent for the final years of Queen Elizabeth's life. But that's Charles. Like, he grasped power. He wanted it. He fought for it. William doesn't have that in him. He's not fighting for it. He expects it to be handed to him.
And we heard all those stories like, oh, they should bypass Charles and just give William the crown. We heard those stories a couple of years ago, I think. And I think now he realizes what that entails, and he doesn't want it, and he's conflicted. All he can focus on is how much he hates Harry for escaping it. He's, like, mad and jealous of Harry.
Well, yeah, like, the thing is that William does want to be king, but only because he thinks that will let him win his war with Harry. That's how narrow-minded William is. That being king for him is all about, that'll show Harry.
It would be sad if it's not. It's pathetic. It is. It is.
Yeah, I mean, there are parts of it that are, like, really sad, and, like, where the fuck is Kate? And, like, is she okay?
Yeah.
And no one knows. And no one is saying. Now, I believe that some people do know. Like, I think that there are people in the press who have a much better idea about what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole thing is a disaster.
Hopefully she'll recover and be all right, and they'll be forthcoming about what happened. All right, let's move on to the comments of the week.
All right, my comment of the week. It's a long one. I'm not going to read all of it, but it's from Harper, commenter Harper, on one of the many stories about how William doesn't actually want to do anything. He doesn't want to take on any extra responsibilities following his father's cancer diagnosis. And Harper wrote, today's outings were obviously planned last minute. Monday, we got the news in this order. Punxsutawney Prince crawling out of his hole on Wednesday. C-Rex has cancer. Harry on his way. All of that was most likely arranged and communicated on Sunday. As for today's outings, either they pulled William out unwillingly from wherever, or William insisted he get the day out from wherever to compete with Harry. I think that's exactly what happened.
He wanted to compete with Harry, yeah.
But I love Punxsutawney Prince because that's exactly what's happening.
He pokes his head out once a year. That's pretty funny. I've never heard that one. What else? People used to call him Burger King.
Yeah.
Why did they call him Burger King? That was a few years ago.
I forget the backstory on it. It was funny, though.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember. I was like, why were they calling? I won't repeat the other things they've called him. All right, so my comment of the week is from Jais, Jais, on your story about Tracy Chapman and Luke Combs' duet at the Grammys. And Jais wrote, chills. The way Tracy smiles as everyone in the room loses it at just seeing her. She looked and sounded amazing. Luke was cute and how he literally mouthed the words as she was singing. Such a legend. Also recommend The Promise by Tracy.
Yeah, that performance, it was lovely. It was the highlight of the Grammys.
It really was. I was crying so hard. I was like, why is this getting to me?
Well, it's a beautiful song, and it was a beautiful performance, and Luke was perfect. Like, Tracy is always perfect. I'm not, like, giving all of it to Luke. Like, Tracy was amazing, and she wrote this absolutely gorgeous, timeless song. But, like, the way Luke behaved, it was so moving to me. To see him treat her with such respect and awe.
He admires the hell out of her. And I love the backstory. Like, that was one of the first songs he learned on his guitar.
Yeah, and it was his favorite song before he even knew what a favorite song was. I loved that.
Yeah.
And you could see that in how he treated her and how he looked at her on stage. And, like, the whole staging of the performance with her with the guitar, and he was backing her. Like, that was just gorgeous.
The Grammys were really good this year. I mean, I'm not going to lie and say I watched the last hour because I go to bed at 10, you know. I go to bed at 9 most nights, but...
Me too.
It was great. And the In Memoriam performances were so good. And I loved Jay-Z's speech. I was like, yeah, go.
Yeah, Jay-Z's speech was amazing. And I, like,
so
people
funny.
were so
He's
mad
funny
about
as hell. Oh, my God. Some girl on Twitter was like, I've never heard a Jay-Z song. And I was like, gonna send her. I'm like, the internet is right there, you dumbass. But I just blocked her. I was like, blocked.
And like Jay-Z, everyone was pointing this out. Jay-Z didn't say anything that Adele didn't say years ago when she won over Beyonce.
Yeah, it's true.
Like, Adele got up there for Record of the Year and she was like, this should have gone to Beyonce. And it was true. It should have gone to Beyonce that year. It was Lemonade.
People love hating Beyonce and Jay-Z. And their little daughter. Like, come on.
Didn't Blue Ivy look beautiful?
Oh, she's so tall. It's crazy. She's only 12 years old.
I love that Jay brought her up.
Yeah.
But that made people mad too. Why did he bring her daughter up? Because he's winning a special award.
Why is she wearing an elegant gown? Come on, it's the Grammys. If she was wearing some overalls, you would be complaining too. Like, come on, this family can't win, you know? Shut up.
But Beyonce's outfit was so bad.
She
That's
looked like a rancher.
Oh gosh,
like a rancher.
That outfit just screamed, I don't give a shit about the Grammys.
Yeah, good for her. All right, well, thanks for listening, bitches.
Thanks, bitches.
Thank you for listening to the Celebrity Podcast. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen. If you like us, please turn off your ad blocker when you visit our site. You can text us or leave a voicemail at 434-218-3219. Our music is from AA Alto, Maiden, and via Premium Beat and Sound of Picture. Thanks again. I can't believe the Grammys were this week either.
Yeah. This week has been crazy long.